part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
You're listening to the Krypton Report.
Welcome to the Krypton Report with a very special episode. That's right. It is I, your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the Man of Tomorrow. And with me today is not James. Nope. I have with me the hardest working man in comics. That's right. This man and I met many years ago, and we'll get to that fun story. But I have Mr. Victor Danbridge. How are you doing, Victor? Yeah. It's been like seven years, 6. Yeah, right. Because I remember, because it's right after I moved back, and so Victor and I met at AMC Linux. We both were some of those suckers that went to see Tusk in theaters, that Kevin Smith movie. And I swear there was you, me, my ex-brother-in-law, and like 2 other people, and it was in a larger room too. And we were like, all right, Kevin Smith movie. We're like, okay. I didn't have any expectations going in. I didn't know how I felt when I left. Oh, yeah. So my issue, this is not the Tusk podcast, I promise people. My issue with it was I thought it started well. And then, having seen Red State and seeing where Kevin went with it, and I never listened to the podcast that he did about Tusk because I didn't want to spoil everything. Because there's a podcast he did for Smodcast, and basically it's how they pitch the movie to each other and kind of come up with the whole idea. And then I just remember sitting there thinking, like, you really could have had something much like the way you did Red State that kind of was really out of your wheelhouse. But it's like you just went for like the, what the, like, yeah. That's a very, very good way of segueing things. And we'll get there, but I wanted to ask you real quick, have you watched Clerks 3 yet? Yeah. I actually bought it on Amazon because it came out relatively quick. And I bought it because I wanted to go see it, the Fandango thing. But just couldn't get the scheduling to work out. And then I was going to visit my co-host James with our buddy Brian. And so I just bought it digitally so the 3 of us could just chill at his place and watch it together. And we did. And I went in expecting something, fun. But at the same time, I was kind of apprehensive about it because I was like, I feel like you're kind of repeating yourself with the way you do with Zach and Miri, with kind of the behind the scenes of how you made things. But I was actually very blown away with Clerks 3. Yeah. So we started this podcast quickly, but it's just funny how people meet. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of keep a little bit of the mystery of Victor, but at the same time, so Victor, you like comics, obviously. What got you into comics? Like, where did your love for the page and the drawings and stuff, where did that start? Mm. Yep. I still don't like 3. Tell me why, real quick. Tell me why. Was it always available because it was on TV? It felt like every day on some. Thank you. That's what I've been saying. Is because I have a love for that one as well. Because I feel like every time I turned on the TV or every time I was at my grandparents' house, it was on. It's a. It probably. It feels right. It feels right. Hmm. It's a good one. Okay, so quick side story. I met Chris Claremont back when they had Mid Ohio Con. I think this is 2008 ish, 9 ish, somewhere in there. I'd have to look exactly because some of that time is kind of a blur. A lot just kind of went by in that time period. But I think it was '08. That sounds good. And I knew who he was, but I didn't know to the depth of who he was. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then later when I was like, oh my gosh, because I kind of was like digging back through his stuff, and I was like, oh my, he created, like, I knew he wrote X-Men and what he had done, but I didn't realize all the characters he had created. And I was just like, holy cow. So the death of Superman, we are recording this right after they released the big 30th anniversary. Did you get a chance to read that yet? And just a quick idea, what do you think of it? Just a quick. I will agree with you on that, and I really like the stories. I kind of wish maybe there's another one or two in there, almost like a lost story from Funeral for a Friend, a lost story from Reign of the Superman. Um, and I just the main news story that was there, I liked it, but at the same time, I don't want to feel like, oh, it could have been stronger. But I was reading, I was like, could you imagine if this had happened in a way that it was John fighting this new creature parallel with the death of Superman. So you're kind of telling two different stories at the same time, where John found out, you have like a flashback to him finding out about his dad, and then him fighting this Doomsday himself. I think there could have been something cool there. I mean, it was good. I just feel like, yeah, and I mean, it went quick, and I was like, I need to sit with it and read it again. Uh, yeah, which one of their shorts was your favorite? Mm, I get that. Maybe because you were reading it now as a parent. Yep, yep, yep. Oh, that's why there's certain things that hit me differently that previously I watched or whatever, and then you're just like okay, here's a completely crazy example. My wife showed our kids, what the heck, our kids, The Parent Trap the other night, and she was showing him the Lindsay Lohan one, and I came in, I said down, I was like, oh, I haven't seen that in years. Like I was like, I grew up watching the old one with my grandma, and then I'm sitting there watching it, and all of a sudden, like the scene of like the reveal of like the dad kind of meeting his daughter for the first time, and all of a sudden I'm like I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, no, I couldn't do this. I'm like, how could you let your kid? And then I'm like, come here, son. I just grab my son. I'm like, I love you, boy. Um, but I will say I really did like it. But the one that I liked the most was the Steel one. And because to me, the character of Steel has always reflected kind of like the completion of Superman's mission of influencing people and having people aspire to be better. Maybe, and in this one, he doesn't have the suit. He's not Steel per se. He's John Henry running around helping people. And that is like what Superman always tried to show was to help people. So like that one just got me because I'm like, that is always like feel like what the whole point of Superman's character is. Um, my daughter popped in here. Yeah. Well, I will say this: my daughter is amazing. She's the best person to watch a comic book movie with. When we saw Black Adam and the post credit scene popped up. This is my friend Victor. You can say hi.
Hi.
No, I will show you in a minute. Let me finish this, okay? Hang out with mommy. Okay? You don't know where it's at. We're sitting there in the theater in the post credit scene of Black Adam, and she is the loudest person in the theater cheering. Louder than bigger than me. And then yesterday when we saw Wakanda Forever, she's sitting on my lap, and then at one of the opening scenes, she gets up and crosses her arms and has her head down, and she asked me to buy her a shirt because we were going to see the movie, and she's like, "But I don't have any Marvel shirts, Daddy." And I was like, "All right." So we stopped at the store, and I got her one, and she wanted the Wakanda Forever one that matched her brother, and she's sitting there, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm like, you're the best." She's fun. So Superman, Death of Superman is what got you into comics. Let's ask, if you had to pick top 3 comic book characters that you love the most? I know it's hard. Okay, I ask the tough questions. What? Yeah, that you didn't create. Awesome. I feel like they did in that one run where they made every character possible. Yeah. Mm. Okay. Mm. That's cool. I mean, and I say that because we just recently been rewatching the movies, like all of them, like Marvel and DC, because my son, he'll be like, "Daddy, I remember that, but I don't remember it real well." So we just started rewatching all of them, you know, and we were watching the original, Wonder Woman, and we're talking about how it's such a better movie than what they did in 1984. And we were talking about it, and I was like, I do really like this movie. And I was like, the first one, Wonder Woman. And I'm like, I really don't like. And then I pitched my idea to my wife what I would have done for Wonder Woman 2. Um, and she's like, oh yeah. I'm like, and it just that movie does not like out of all the DC movies, Wonder Woman 84 sits the worst with me. I feel if the movie was like Wonder Woman 1940s, you you know, like it's just 20 years later, and 20 years to her is nothing. And the fact that it's like her, you could say, being more upset because we're in World War II, and she's like, I thought I just put an end to this. Um, but that movie, yeah, we're gonna do a rewatch of that for our podcast. Do like a commentary on this. I don't want to say too much, but that one I did not. It did not set with me well, and I'm gonna pitch this to you real quick here. This is my acting theory with DC films. That Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, BVS, and Zack Snyder's Justice League are all post-crisis or pre-crisis movies. Okay? Because they put Ezra Miller's Flash in the Crisis on the CW, which means it's connected, and since he disappeared, that means his Earth was destroyed, and then it was rebuilt, and then theatrical Justice League, aka Justice League, and Aquaman and 84 and Shazam and Black Adam and The Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey are all post-crisis. And that's how I explain the little shifts in character, the little shifts in tone and everything, and little things that don't quite line up, because I am big on continuity. And the fact that I feel like Wonder Woman 84 undid any continuity that had ever been created. But as long as you look at it through that paradigm of thought about the being post-crisis, it's like, okay, it works. So yeah, I try. It makes it so much happier that you don't get mad when things don't you're like, oh, but it's post-crisis, and there's evidence for there. But so who would be your third? There's no reason to argue with that. I mean, it makes sense. Like, yeah, it's to me, Superman is without him being the top, you don't have the scale of creating the different levels of the different heroes. From being, you can't get an anti-hero if you don't understand what the hero is or, anything else. So it makes sense. So now, last question until we get into some of the. Actually, I got two more small ones for you. One, who's your favorite X-Men? That makes sense. No, that's simple. Mine was always Cyclops. I just I loved Cyclops. Um, it's a trait of mine. I am like that in everything until we get to Star Wars. In every type of thing, I'm always like the true blue leader, good guy, And then we get to Star Wars, I'm like Darth Vader. He's the best. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what's wrong with me there. What has been your favorite since we're comic book film of this year? Yeah, we'll just do this year. It's too many to go into whole depth, but just do this year. I posed the question to my wife just for discussion's sake after we left the theater. My question was this the right way to do it? Should they have done it set during the blip so they didn't have to really dig into the death of Chadwick, or should they have recast? Those were and I wanted to hear her thoughts, and she was like, no, this was the right way. And, and I said, you know what? I agree with you. I was like, because, my initial pitch when they talked about doing a Black Panther movie with what to do for a sequel, mine was set it during the blip. that was my initial thought, and then when they presented this story, I'm like, okay, and then after seeing it, I was like, all right, I can get behind this. Like, I think they did a very elegant way of creating a theme of grief so that we, the audience, were able to go through our grief the same as the characters for not just the loss of the character, but the loss of the person and the heart. And I feel like in a way this movie's about reestablishing the heart of Wakanda. So, yeah, I told you, hard-hitting questions here. Now, to the more fun stuff. So, as Victor had said, Victor is a comics creator. I want you to tell us a little bit about your journey from being comic fan to creator. That's fine. Mm. Oh, nice. No, I'm intrigued. I'm just wow. Yeah. Mm. Hmm. Yeah, that's all. I mean, first of all, it's awesome. Congratulations on that. I was going to get there. I find that I say that a lot. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Now, with your drawing, okay. So, about what time frame were you at CCAD? Okay. Okay. I was just trying because like I went to Columbus State for a little bit, and I had a friend that went over to CCAD, and I visited over there a couple times. So just kind of curious. Now when you create a character, do you do your first initial sketch, like to just kind of have the characters, so you have like a visual representation that you present to the artist, or do you just kind of describe it and let the artist go with it now? Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Now with your Vantage in-house, is it like a one shared universe, or do they connect to each other? Mm. Cool. And I've read a few. I have a few. Sadly, this is hard to say. I don't know if you saw. I posted my. It's life. My wife's one of her good friends is in the hospital, and we were watching her dog, and the dog was in our bedroom, and we took the kids out to grab dinner, and the way our house is laid out, there's a door to my office, my room, connected to our bedroom. He freaked out. He popped the it wasn't locked real good, so he popped in here and he tore up about 4 long boxes full of comics. Um, the majority of it was Batman comics, and then my short box that had more of my. I have a whole box that's like indie comics, comics that I pick up at conventions, like not main titles that I like to keep together, and the comics that I had purchased from you were sadly in there because I was going to pull them back out. Yeah, and my wife. I'm gonna send you the picture and everything. My wife was like, "I'm so sorry," and I was angry, but I was at that anger point where I just went quiet. Like I didn't say anything, and look, I'm not gonna be mad. I know that this is life, and I understand what's going on right now. Um, yeah, it does. Some of them I had to throw away because the dog messed on them, and then I cleaned some off and I put them to the side. And I haven't gone through all of them yet to see what's missing, what's not. I really haven't had the heart to sit down and start that process yet. Because I remember one of the comics that Vantage put out that I had bought, and I'm drawing a blank, and I do apologize because it was a female superhero. And I had that one. I was going to dig that back out, and I was just like, but I've enjoyed I'll say this: every convention that I go to, you will find Victor set up there. You will find, and recently I ran into him at Cincinnati Comic Expo, and I'll run into him here shortly because I'm doing a panel at GalaxyCon. So I'll be back there, and I'll see you there. But you can always find him and his comics creator team and everything set up there with some really great books. I mean, everything I've read, and one thing that my wife and I have talked about and we've kind of pledged is our new goal is to save up more money to go to cons to buy more indie work. Because what we found is we're finding unique art and books and things that are fascinating that we won't, because we're really big on supporting local, even local businesses and everything that we can. So when she came down for CincyCon with me, we kind of made this idea we want to save up more money so that we can buy more local indie stuff to support that, because that's really it's I don't say it's more important, but there's a stronger impact I feel that it can really help with. Right. Yeah. And I mean, just for someone who has created and done things, musically as well as other forms, having someone that immediate connection or having someone be able to message you back and appreciate your work is, like you said, invaluable. Uh, First of all, tell us about some of the characters that you have, and then also where we as an audience can get your books other than at a con. And then also, what I want to ask you, do you have a local comic shop in Columbus that you go to? Those are my 2 questions. Yeah, totally. Well, I was gonna say I saw that advertised on your website. I don't remember seeing it at the booth, but I was really busy when I was in Cincy. It's on my list to buy because that's one I want to get because I would think my daughter would like really enjoy it. So it's on my to get list here in December. Yeah, and I was gonna get to the end of that here at the end. Don't. I I will say because I read that, and since we're talking about and I didn't know what it was going in. Like you sent it to me, and I was like, okay, I read the title, okay, trouble. And I'm reading it, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, huh, wow. And then like I came home, and I was like, hey, I got to read the comic Victor sent me, and we started talking about it, and and then I started just talking about her like things with this. Like I was like, I'm very curious to where they can go with this because the layers and like the real world and like I don't want to give anything away, but we started hitting on the themes and discussing it amongst ourselves about it, and it was a really good discussion. And I was like, I wanted to ask you, did it come from a really personal place, or was it because it feels like it comes from that type of a place. And like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. I really want people to experience it much like I did. So deeper. Okay. Yeah. I always loved his perspective on writing, and I would just say when he would appear on Kevin's show, like, I prefer to listen to him talk over Kevin. Oh, I feel like I have because I did used to work at Blockbuster. Yeah. Okay, now I remember hearing about it because I was like, that rings something. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Wow, that's exciting. Especially if you're a creative like person and you're a writer and a storyteller and you think like that. Like that's an exciting like, okay, here's the end of the story now. How do I get there? Thank you. Thank you. I remember, dude. I remember, okay, when they announced that movie, before I just saw like the superhero movie, I was like, did Victor get a movie made? Like I had immediately had a pump, and then I looked into it, and I was excited, and that's not his character. And then I was like, dang it, they ripped off his name. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of teased by M. Night Shyamalan. Even tried to do that in his Unbreakable. So didn't everybody in Smallville wear a hoodie? Mm, yeah. I'm like, I now want to reread your. I want to read your book, and I want to rewatch that episode. Okay. Sweet. Makes me want to read your book more. Just because to see it. But I wanted to reread it in a long time too. Let's see. Creator wise, inspired. Like, what are like? I just you mentioned this on Twitter. We were talking. Who is a creator that has like inspired you that you kind of look to maybe for mentorship or just kind of like as the example of the type of company or that you. I know. I just wanted to get. I didn't want to say it. I wanted you to say it. Mhm. I I was gonna say with Mark, like you were saying, I feel like one of his biggest strength is a lot of other like even the Image comic people, like Todd McFarlane. You think of Spawn, Robert Kirkman's Walking Dead. They all had their book, you know, but Mark Millar has written a lot. He's created a lot of characters, a lot of stories. I mean, you just get on Millar World and you'll see, how he created this whole universe. You asked me about characters, and like I really enjoyed reading his Jupiter series, and I actually just reread it recently because I got the newest trade, the Requiem. And there's one more trade about to come out sometime, and because I reread it before the show. Did you watch the show? What I explained, what I found fascinating about the show is the show was a prequel to the first book and a prequel to the second book. Because it it does, because like I was trying to tell my wife, like when it was like Jupiter's legacy and it was like Jupiter's inner circle. Now it's all they've put it all together now under one banner if you buy the trades now. But it's like you have the story of like their early days when they were a team, and then you have the story of the Utopian as an old man with his children and their story. And then the show told their origin, and then like the moment before the first book about the Order Utopian. So it's really interesting that you can watch the show and read the books, and they're all one story without the show actually adapting the book. And I was very sad that that show was canceled. I was very upset. So I kind of wanted to see if where they were going to take it, to see if they would have done the full on story. Because after it was said it was canceled, then I had to tell my wife, okay, so this is what happens. And her jaw just kind of dropped as I told her and showed her the book. She's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, that's what. Yeah, speaking of Doctor Who, actually, my friend has gotten really hard into it, and so he came over the other night, and we watched the movie, The Strange Adventures in Time and Space. That was kind of like the story of the setup, and then we started watching some episodes of the original Doctor from the 60s. So we started watching that, and he's going through this. He's creating me a list, sorry, of early Doctors to go in and watch a few episodes of each Doctor and everything, because I've seen enough to like around, but I've never really. It's one of those things I've always kind of wanted to get back and do and watch it all, but I always kind of like there's so much, like, it's overwhelming. It's like, and how they've really like it's. We talked about how the show is the whole regeneration thing was the smartest thing they ever did, because it was the best way to keep a story alive and keep going without actually ever rebooting it, because you're always soft rebooting it in continuity. And yeah, it is. Um, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you're the hardest working man in comics. You have a life, you have kids, I got kids. But I've been wanting to do this with you for a while because I love talking to creators. I love talking to, people who get to do this and have, their work out there. Uh, one of the coolest things about Victor, for anyone listening, is Victor does a lot of convention work, and not only for his own stuff, but he does a lot of panels. You'll find him moderating and hosting, so he's got to meet a lot of people. And I know that you're full of stories, and it's always fascinating to me just all the the people that you got to meet, and we'll have to chat about that more. And you said you're going to be at GalaxyCon. Um, I think last two things we'll kind of wrap up here. What's your home store here in Columbus, and where can people buy your work? Oh, you're in Obetz? What? Why did I not know that? Okay, I well, okay, so I went to Hamilton Township High School. Yeah, and I worked at Dairy Queen in Obetz was my first job. So that was, and it's that whole area has been changed so much since the annex and all that. And I haven't been over there like on that part in such a long time that um so it's just when you said that, I was like, wait a minute, did I know that? I don't think I knew that. Because like I had friends that lived in Reese, lived in Obetz, and if you go right outside, crap, what is it called? It's right there off Rathmill, Hamilton. I think it was Hamilton Lakes. Was the development that I lived in when I lived up in Columbus. So small world, people. Uh, so Comic Town wasn't that the one that was up by Easton that moved? Yeah. See, I've been wanting to get back up to that one because I haven't been to it since it moved. Like last time I was up, I mean, I can't believe it's been 5 years, but looking at the journey of life, like, because my if I had to pick a local shop in Columbus was Pack Rat, because I used to work up by Pack Rat, and so on my lunch break I would go pick up my comics or go buy some comics, and that became kind of my favorite go-to shop in the Columbus area. Yep. Yep. Oh, cool. All right, that's awesome because, like I said, I'll probably see you at GalaxyCon before I'll get a chance to get to the store, like, and I want to buy that book for my daughter. All right, so where can people find you online? Like, if they were wanting to give you a shout out or anything, after listening to this, where can they find you? Beautiful, beautiful. Sounds about right. Feels like it. I mean, it feels like every time I turn around at something with comics, like, oh, hey, there you are. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you here soon. I look forward to picking up some books, and I encourage all the listeners to just check out the website, check out his stuff. It really is, the comic is fans creating comics of quality. I say that because I've read indie comics before. You're like, oh, but no, Victor's got that spark, that something, and that's why I wanted to chat with him for a long time. And life, people, life. Well, thank you for being here on Krypton Report, Victor. Take care, man, and I'll see you soon. We're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough super talk, check check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, the Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find out all of our information. $1 a month, you'll get extra special content that you don't get on the main show, like movie commentaries and whatever else comes out of our mouths. So check it out, patreon.com/Krypton Report.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Look up in the sky.
We just want to say, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network.